My name is Martin Klaassen, and welcome to another interview session with the virtual lighting design community. My guest is no other than David Gilbey. Welcome. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Martin.
Now,
good to see you.
Before we go any further, maybe for those people who don't know you, give a bit of background. Who is David Gilbey? Where is he from? What is he doing in his daily life?
Oh, that's a tough question because David Gilbey is originally from London.
Right.
And I have a theatre background. I'm from a theatrical family.
Okay.
And so I have a degree in stage lighting, and I was a London, UK theatre lighting designer and then film and television. And moved into architecture in 1994, which is a bit of an age giveaway if you do the math. But I still think my age is the best kept secret in lighting. And my philosophy as an architectural lighting designer is to try and tell stories, try and capture the soul of the project. I love narratives. I'm always looking for the story. And,
you have your own practice.
I have my own practice.
Yeah.
I've worked for other people, but the pandemic was a game changer. And
we'll get to that later on. The pandemic.
Okay.
So you're here also because you're involved in some of the events here. You're a panel member, I believe, in the Light Talks. And you also have your own activities in terms of promoting the lighting and the lighting design industry itself. So maybe you can talk us a little bit through what you're going to talk about here as a panel member, the subject, and after that maybe a little about what you do in terms of promoting the lighting design industry as well.
It's a really interesting subject. We're talking about light up, effectively, and the rise of the Light Festival, which is a wonderful subject, and it's great. What is the difference between a lighting designer and a light artist? Because I think we all do light art in our projects. We all do immersive work at times. We all, when we're doing light art, we're doing it not art for art's sake, but we're doing it within the context of the project that we're working on. So, in many respects, I consider myself a light artist at times. Although, as I say, light art per se is art for art's sake. I'm very big on a couple of things. I'm very big on respect. I'm very big on respecting not just other lighting talent, but also lighting manufacturers and distributors that support our industry and who make our job easier. We know there's great people out there that are really, they stand shoulder to shoulder with us. And there's a great guy, Walid Fakuza, based here in Dubai, runs the Lighting Institute. And I respect the man's humility so much. He won at the last PLDC in Rotterdam. He won the Education Award, and he got up to take his prize. And when he got up, he pulled 3 people from the room that were instrumental in starting the Lighting Institute. He pulled them up onto stage with him, gave them the credit. Now, what I loved about it was 2 of them were manufacturers. So there's a lighting designer running a Lighting Institute saying, I couldn't do it without these people. Interestingly, we'd spoke at a Smart Design Summit when he announced the Lighting Institute, and I volunteered. I stuck both hands up and volunteered to help. And then events took me away from Dubai. So I volunteered to help but did nothing. And I went and saw him after that dinner and to congratulate him on his award. And he said, no, thank you. I said, Walid, I haven't done anything. He said, when I announced this, he said, you were so enthusiastic, you put both hands up. This is how we should be. We should respect talent, we should respect support, the good guys in our industry, and it's as much
nurture them as well.
And nurture them, and it's as much about who they are as people as what they do and what they stand for. I'm also very big on inspiration. And this actually, it was guys, Martin and Sharon and Katja, who are very big founders of the VLDC. They did a couple of light clubs on inspiration, and it just dawned on me, inspiration is everywhere. So I set about proving it, and we're up to about 85 inspiration posts.
Yes, I follow
now,
that.
And The other thing is I've never lit a bridge. I've done concepts for bridges that have never been realised, and it's kind of
that's funny. I've got a concept for a bridge as well in India that never saw the day of light.
Yeah, I had one in Iran. It was a World Heritage Bridge, and the local government changed, and with it went my bridge lighting. And so I'm also, you subtly see that I'm fishing for a bridge in there. So I've done an inspiration post on bridges. I've done an inspiration post on bridges as a metaphor. Yeah. I've done small bridges. I've done rivers, which are crossed by bridges. I tag everybody in the bridge design industry. And that's, look, if you do what you do genuinely with a happy heart, then it gets its own reward. But you can have a little.
But inspiration is at the base.
Yeah, inspiration is what it's about. If I win a bridge, if I inspire someone enough with my ideas to win a bridge, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
I had a project once, an urban realm project, and it had a pedestrian bridge, and I saw it as a soft glowing structure.
Right.
And it got cut, and it went to an interactive tunnel, and interactive tunnels are fun. I've done one of those before, so I didn't need to do one of those. So I'll collaborate. If you get a bridge, I'll work for free. It's my company.
Well, I wouldn't mind having one too, because I've done 2 or 3 concepts for bridges, and it never went the way to further than a concept alone. I don't know why, but I'm somewhere in the same corner with you. If it comes along, we should do that together. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, the VLDC has been a great opportunity for us to collaborate, but other than that, in different parts of the world, we've only ever collaborated over food or beers, haven't we?
Yeah. That's true. Now, listen, you're here, of course, to talk about your subject in the panel discussion, but there are 3 main themes that run through this show this year, which are innovative lighting design, future sustainability, and seamless integration. What does these mean to you as a lighting designer, and maybe as an inspiring person?
I support several lighting schools, and one of them is BHA School of Lighting in South Africa. And I managed to do an interesting talk where I got a great architect called Arif Mahmood, who worked for Hopkins, worked with Richard Rogers, did some great projects, and we were able to have that conversation about when do you get a lighting designer involved. Because the earlier you get the lighting designer involved, that's when you can start seamlessly integrating light into the architecture, because sometimes the problem that we've got is we're going out of our way to hide it.
Yes.
As opposed to, I did some lighting at Bengaluru airport to keep the plants alive, and if you'd given it to an engineer, bless them, but he'd have put a big clunky box on the ceiling on the basis that I've got to keep the plants alive, whereas an architectural lighting designer will always be looking to seamlessly integrate lights into the fabric. I think in everything that we should do, we should design holistically. We should design. I think we have no greater responsibility as lighting designers as when we're working in the outdoor realm, when we're doing a facade or when we're doing landscape lighting, because we've got so many things to consider. Context to the surroundings, sustainability, light pollution, dark
all these points, really.
All of these things.
But you brought an interesting point.
And still making it look beautiful.
Yeah. And on budget, if we can. But you brought an interesting point, because I often get the questions like, when should we engage a lighting designer? And like you said, it's never early enough. We need to be there from the beginning. That's the only way to integrate lighting with architecture. And
I've seen many times as well when the building's out of the ground, well out of the ground, and, especially here in Dubai, and then suddenly they're either starting to think about lighting or starting to think about the lighting that they planned originally. it's a mystery to me here, because I've worked on many great master plans here, and then I drive around areas where it's almost like they've put the lighting in a bag, chucked it. It seems to be mismatched with the landscape and the hardscape.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's like they have great ideas and then get bored and give up, you know. And then, they can always polish it, can't they? They can change the name of the region. But I also love India, for example, where I've done some great regeneration of neighborhoods, and I see it a little bit of like throwing a pebble in the pond and watching the ripples go out, because if an area regenerates, it brings wealth, it brings a feel-good factor and all of this, and then the next neighborhood's got to regenerate to keep up. I've got this sort of utopian view that we can just...
Well, you have to look in the future, it's important.
Yeah.
But talking about that, we just came out of a COVID pandemic. We all lived through that the last couple of years, and now we're entering this post-pandemic period where life has sort of changed for everybody. Not only on the private level, but also on working level. So my question to you is like, how did that affect you? Have you changed your way of living, your way of working? What does that mean for you, this new area of post-pandemic?
My residence is in Italy. I live in Italy, and although I've got an office in London, but at the time I was commuting. I was running NDY Light, head of creative lighting, and running their London studio. And then my flights were getting cancelled, and we've got a virus outside the door that at the time was deadly. I mean, now I think it's migrated that it's just a bad cold, isn't it? You know, it's infectious, but... And it worried me, and we had a couple of big projects go on hold, so I got furloughed, which meant paid a government allowance to sit at home.
Okay.
And so I went home to Italy and decided, it was a game changer for me. I decided I didn't want to be commuting to London. My projects are still global and around the world. But then I had also, when my furlough ended in July 2020, and I formed D-Lighting. And I didn't look for work because I had a big project starting in South Korea.
Right.
So I took 6 months off, lived on my savings.
Good on you.
Walked mountains, scuba dive, walked on the beach. I live quite close to the sea on the Adriatic coast. And then COVID killed that project.
All right.
So I hadn't marketed. I'd started a company. I hadn't marketed for 8 months. I'd lived on my savings. And that's when I became kind of a social media guru, because it's cheaper to be remembered on social media than it is flying around the world to network.
Yeah.
And you know, there's been some pain, which I prefer to call work-life balance.
A learning period.
Yeah. And now we're flying. We're absolutely, the pipeline is very healthy. But even during that journey, there was a time, there was a big project I could have won in India, and I needed to go there for like a final pitch. And it's just when India was having its second wave, of crisis, and I didn't go. And I lost the project.
But these are periods which somehow also form you for the future. You learn, and I went to a near bankruptcy myself also, and that has really shaped my way of thinking about how do I need to prepare for the next time if that happens. It helps you to become who you are today and how you move forward, I think.
But here's the thing, I think we should, in theory, it should play to lighting designers now. We should be a better designed world. There should be less average, more. So the best example, commercial projects we get from time to time, and we try and do great things when we get them, but they're not our bread and butter. But back in the day, for example, it was all about massing. It was all about how many desks we can squeeze in. And even now, the sought after offices have got terraces and balconies and outdoor space. Okay, so there's a sea change to sort of almost better facilities for staff and lighting for well-being, and this is how we should be. So if we take my old office, NDY Light, and NDY as an engineering firm, office in London had 2 proper meeting rooms and a couple of big, I don't know, breakout desks, and seating for 80 people. They've moved offices because they're now doing a sort of hybrid working. So it's more hot desks. They've got more meeting rooms, so it becomes a hub for creative meetings. But people do their work, I don't know, 50-50 from home. And I even know one guy that only works 4 days a week now. And
I'm one of them.
Yeah, and this is how it should be. And we've got things like the world standard, which is a start, but doesn't really touch the surface. We should really be designing these spaces and all spaces, retail spaces, hospitality spaces, with more biophilic design, more ESG.
All these things.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you also about VLDC, because obviously you're a very avid supporter and promoter of the platform. You have participated as a speaker. Thank you for that. I just want to hear from you. What do you think of the platform and how it will help our lighting design community grow in the future in terms of communication and knowledge sharing and all that?
I think, what's the word? Us established, us experienced. I'm steering well clear of the word old. Okay. We have something to give.
Absolutely.
In terms of experience, confidence, network, whatever it is. But everyone has got something to give. I speak to a lot of young lighting designers, and they're finding their voice. Dipali, who I mentored through the silhouette process, I mean, mutually rewarding process. Bright as a button, future lighting star. Ruth Kelly Woskett mentored a girl called Cha from Taiwan, and she's doing her studies around lighting and mental health and mindfulness. And I love seeing these. Dipali's passion is for multi-sensory inclusive design, design for the partially sighted as well as the sighted. Jelena Popov is doing research on, again, feel-good factor with lighting. Martina Frattura, beauty. All of these, he's got so much to say, and look, I've got a person.
It's very rewarding to see that.
Yeah, and the fact that you bring in, I mean, I'm inspired. I'm inspired. I know I'm Mr. Inspiration, but I am genuinely inspired by the lighting talks. I hadn't seen them all, and I was asked to review season 1. And just even a simple thing, how Kurt and his team at ACT, how they brainstorm. He doesn't believe in big teams of brainstormers, because he says there's always 6 people sitting in the room saying nothing. So give them a brief, send them away, let them have their own ideas, and bring those ideas back to the table. Amazing. You are allowing me. I've got a bugbear. I've got something that I'm going to out the elephant in the room.
Well, this is actually my next question, because in my next question I want to know what drives David Gilbey, what gets him out of bed every day, what, as your t-shirt said, inspires you, aspire, and what sort of message would you get out there?
Do you know, I dance with deadlines like all of us. And sometimes the deadlines are totally unfair and total nonsense. A client can go dormant on you for 3 months and then want something in days. A totally unnecessary deadline that really all it does is cause us stress. Do you know, I love what I do, so I smile through them. I don't get stressed. I love what I do. It comes with the territory. I want to be a lighting designer, I've got to dance with deadlines. So there's that. I'm always researching and trying. So I recently, with Amadit, one of your founders, we did some research on the artificial lighting of green walls.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now,
yes.
that came about because of green wall lighting that I'd done and a conversation I had with the wonderful Roger Sexton, who was then at Staccato.
Yeah.
And I think in any other area of lighting design, I designed holistically. I consider this, I consider that.
Yeah.
But when it came to lighting green walls, I kept them alive. So I was blinkered. I was keeping plants alive. They looked rubbish because I lit them in daylight. They stayed healthy, but they looked rubbish. Okay?
Yeah.
So then we said, well, how would you light a green wall? So we went and did this research for two things. One, the tell of the plant, how healthy the plant was, and two, appearance, however, naturalness, how people felt about the green wall. What I love about biophilia, I love how the psychological can influence the physiological. So I love how feeling better in yourself psychologically can make you feel better. This is proven in hospitals where the green walls, looking out over green space, daylight, people get better quicker. They dispense less pain meds. This is a researched fact. So the interesting, I'd love to see what biophilic design does for people with mental health problems. Got to help.
They have done some research surely already.
Yeah, it's hard to find. I'd like to find some quantifiable parameters, but I have something in lighting that irritates the hell out of me. I wrote a piece about it on the VLDC. It got support. People stuck their opinion in. And Martin offered me the platform of holding a panel discussion on the talk, which I'm going to host. I'm going to be the questionnaire as opposed to the voice. Because Martin wants to be in that discussion. He wants to be one of the voices. Okay. And what the elephant in the room is, and I don't know if you know the expression is the elephant in the room.
Of course I do.
When there's a dirty great elephant there that we're all pretending we can't see. So it's a problem we're all ignoring, right? And what that problem is control or lack of it. Now, Kurt Vermeulen and Tapio, they do the most wonderful immersive kinetic projects. I think that's because they've grabbed the elephant by the ears, looked it in the eye, and now they've got the reputation for being able. But there's so many lighting designers that don't realise that the people that need to be driving content are us. Content sometimes has a cost. I see kinetic light, medial walls, colour changing effects that are boring, that are static, that never change, that are still running on the pre-installed test data, as opposed to any content. And it irritates the hell out of me. And I think it's because, I don't know, some lighting designers don't understand it, so they ignore it. I don't know why, but I want to, it's something I want to out.
Maybe something will be revealed tomorrow. Who knows?
Who knows?
Mr. Inspiration, David Gilbey, thank you so much for sharing.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.